welcome to Conversations with Kennedy. Today, our guest is Joe Cryan. He is in charge of our MCUA facility that we are the host for. So welcome, Joe. Thank you for coming today, and thank you for being such an important part of Sayreville. So how to begin? Let's begin because we have a lot of new residents who don't know about the MCUA, its history, what it does, how it benefits Sayreville. So
Sure.
to give you a few opening questions.
Well, Mayor, first and foremost, thank you. It's an honor to be in Conversations with Kennedy today. And on behalf of all the employees of the MCUA, it's an honor to work here and work in such a great borough and try to be a great neighbor as well. So the Middlesex County Utility Authority originally started in 1950, upgraded particularly in 1970 with the Clean Water Act. A lot of folks may know us from us being on Main Street Extension. We operate two different divisions. We operate a solid waste division, which is the landfill located in East Brunswick. Anyone who comes off Route 18, for example, on Edgeboro Road may see the landfill. It's an important part not only of how trash is disposed, but of the economy of Middlesex County. And then obviously here in Sayreville, we operate our central treatment plant, which is a wastewater facility. Our plant is permitted, as we say, for 147 million gallons a day of waste. On the average, we do between 95 and 110. We are a facility, as I mentioned, established in 1950. Our 75th in the 1950s. Our 75th year we're going to celebrate next year in 2025. Upgraded in the 1970s, and obviously today we continue with investments as we try to be not only technologically in tune with the times, but more importantly, be good neighbors, not only for the developments that are around us, but for the neighbors who have chosen to live here. We want to be part of the great team of Sayreville, and we want to be part of something special. We know we're fortunate enough to be here, so we want to continue to do so.
Well, I have to tell you, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you as in your leadership role at the MCUA. I've always found you to be responsive and to be proactive in the operation of the facility. Can you give us an idea of how many people you employ there?
Sure. Between both the landfill, the solid waste division, and the plant here in Sayreville, we have a total of 262 employees. By the way, a little north of 40% of our employees live in Sayreville, South Amboy, and East Brunswick. And actually, north of 30 of them live in Sayreville.
Well, I know that as the host community, that there was an arrangement made long before I became mayor, and that it gets upgraded pretty much on a every 10-year basis, and that we try to keep it fair because one of the things that you find is the more you ask for, it just gets reflected in your rates. So it's not that you operate at no profit, I would assume, because you're a municipal agency.
Well, that's correct. We operate at no profit at all.
Yeah.
We obviously, look, we get great value here. And I will tell you, as someone who lives in Union County and has a privilege also of being an elected official and understands rates around the state. For example, our waste disposal at the landfill is the third lowest waste disposal rate in the state of New Jersey. You and I have shared a little bit of that conversation previously. Our wastewater rates are among the most competitive in the state. We do that because we understand that being part of being a great neighbor is making sure that rates are competitive, not just for residents, Mayor, but for businesses as well. Right? It's important, as I know you've attracted development here, you've attracted businesses here, you've got a history of making sure Sayreville is progressive in terms of what it does for the business community, that we're part of that. Yes. Right? It detracts folks, as we know, it detracts folks on utility rates, electric rates, all sorts of things. We'd like to think we're playing our part in terms of that economy.
No, we do have some people that come up at the public portion who are not particularly educated on this subject, and they have a misperception that you print money down there by taking care of the waste products. And my 9 years experience in state government is it's illegal to make a profit. So it's not that there are oodles and oodles of money down there that you're keeping from us and keeping for yourself. You pretty much have to run it at a break even.
Right.
As been my 9-year experience with the state.
We didn't get the money tree part of the farm. No. You're exactly right. But that said, as I mentioned to you, Mayor, and again, I know you know this and we continue to do so, reinvestment is critically important to us. The Sayreville facility is north of 200 acres. As I opened here with our conversation, 1950s, 1970s clean water. We are continually upgraded. We've got hundreds of miles of pipes, for example. And while I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, making sure those pipes, for example, continually have reinvestment, continually are protected. When that pipe, as I know you've experienced as a public official along the way, when that pipe fails, when that pipe creates a discharge, it impacts the economy of any local area. We choose not to have that. We're also investing in technologies that we think will make us more efficient and obviously more competitive long-term on rates.
1950 in the area that you are, it was not important. It was, I don't even know what it was before you guys got there. Might have been part of the strip mining operation in the borough for either sand or clay. But what's happened over the years is you're now in a crucial area because of the Riverton project, because of the church, because of what's happening with the interchanges now on the Parkway and on Route 9. And I know, particularly under your leadership, you've been very proactive in making changes there, particularly with any escaping odors or if you weren't familiar with the history, you would drive by there every day and not even understand what's there, which is the perfect way to have a sewage treatment plant, right? Not even know it's there.
We'd like folks not to know we're there, other than the fact that we want to be engaged in the community. We're part of high school scholarships. We like to participate in neighborhood days and do things that show that we are engaged because we truly do care. But we really don't want folks to notice us, and you're exactly correct in that. And those reinvestments are significant. For example, you and your leadership and the community's leadership has made us, frankly, as you mentioned, almost an area in the center of the commerce of the future of Sayreville. And we know that. So when we do those investments, and look, the stuff we treat every day, wastewater is not fun, right? As we laugh about it a little bit, your business.
The way of life.
Your business is our business, and we have the most consistent product of any business anywhere. Right. But that said, the reinvestment to make sure, whether it's in odor control, which includes large fans, covers, all sorts of new technologies that are able to do that. We invest hundreds of thousands of dollars a year tracking even when we do get an odor complaint to make sure we can find trends, what we recheck. We obviously follow up. We'd like to think we do so each and every time. I never claim perfection, but we want to create a culture that you don't notice us only when you're supposed to. And we strive very hard for it because we understand what it is to impact any neighborhood's quality of life. And especially when you have the kind of investment that you've been able to track here to the borough, that we want to make sure that that investment is sound and can have a positive future as well.
Well, like all things in government, you had a choice where you could have either been proactive and worked with the development going on there, or taking a different track and saying, well, this is who we are and what we are, and we were here first, and we're not going to change. But I thank you for being a part of our future, and an important part of our future. But I did want to get back to something. You were talking about the rates that you're able to charge now, and that it's one of the lowest in what area?
For example, in the landfill, it's the third lowest rate in the state.
Okay.
We are in the middle of the pack, actually a little bit to the good, so to speak, in the wastewater facilities around the state, and there are a number of them. We check it annually, and we're stable. The other thing about us is we don't have dramatic spikes. We're very stable. We budget appropriately, and we spend within our budget.
Good management, good leadership. Thank you, Joe.
You know,
I really do. It goes, you're an unsung hero, but thank you. What a lot of people in the public really don't understand is, they think that there's a money printing machine down there and that we're not getting our share. One of the ways we get our share is that we pay a low rate, which I think most people would rather take the low rate than a big check comes in at the end of the year, which would be reflected in the rates. Whatever we would negotiate in a higher rate would be negotiated in how much each resident pays for the service. So we chose to pay for a low service, and we're very happy continuing that. I know we pay, I think it's 2%, Glenn, 2%, and it works for us and it works for you, and it's great.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate the partnership. Look, one of the things that we know is, and to your point, you don't want to raise rates and be unstable and not be able to forecast appropriately for whatever, whether it's the
Right.
resident or whether it's the business, right? We've had that partnership here for a number of years. We've tried to make sure we follow through with it. Look, your administration's been, let's be candid here, it's been aggressive in terms of making sure that folks move on development, making sure that we're responsive as a community, making sure we're responsive at the MCUA to continue to be a good partner. We're going to continue to do that as long as we're here. And I think we've established a culture now where we work with residents if there's an issue, and we also work with partnership. I'll give an example with Riverton. We're moving, for example, our landfill, which creates a gas. We're moving to have that gas create. Today, it just creates a cogen. It creates its own electricity.
Correct.
Ultimately, we're going to move the plant to an all-electric plant, right? To have clean air and to continue to work that and
Right.
reduce our emissions. We've mentioned that we have that down the pike because it's part of being a great neighbor, right? Wherever you can invest in your technologies. So we're strategic. We're competitive on pricing. We're not going to do it looking for government handouts and ultimately have to come back to ratepayers. We're going to do it so it's stable and so that folks can continue to create investment, not based on what they have, not what we want to take.
I appreciate your leadership and the way you run it. It's about the ratepayer. Before anybody, it's about the ratepayer. Also, the way that you interact with Riverton and, of course, Epic Church. Epic Church, what many people don't realize, is one of the largest churches in the state of New Jersey. It's a regional church, and on any given Sunday, you'll have 7,000 people there attending worship services. And they wouldn't be there if there was a problem. The Riverton people would not be investing $2.5 billion if there was a problem. So a lot of credit goes to you, Joe, and to your staff.
Well, we had the opportunity to sit with Pastor, and that is one impressive facility. The church is just, it's really something to behold. And I'm sure a trademark and a foundation piece for Sayreville. I had the opportunity to meet with Pastor. We are looking to do some clean energy expansion, solar and some
Yes.
other things, potentially wherever we go. We're just adding in it, for example, another 4 megabytes of solar between the Sayreville campus right in front and the landfill. So we're expanding on clean energy initiatives. Pastor was beyond generous with his time and support. The folks in Riverton, for example, I mentioned to you that we want to move to an all-electric facility over the next 5 years. Again, clean air, less air emissions, all things that are good for the environment and good for our neighbors. We've been working with Riverton, for example, on expanded electric lines in a collaborative effort. We've also been working on our investments that make sure that folks that move into Riverton have a quality of life that's important, that they don't notice that their neighbors next door are wastewater. They just notice that we're fun-loving people. That's all.
That's it.
That's it.
That being said, now, from what we had Riverton here at the previous podcast, and one of their big destination attractions is going to be Bass Pro, and they have a huge commitment to the environment, particularly Raritan Bay, Lower New York Harbor, and they're investing a great deal of money into education and other aspects. And I know that you personally are environmentally sensitive. And this is this is more for the new people that have moved in our area, that now they're going to find out that there is a sewage treatment plant in town. It's close to the mouth of the Raritan River, and they'll have environmental questions. So if you'd go over the safeguards that you've enacted and the ongoing testing that you do.
Sure. Let me just, since you mentioned it, we're part of the Watershed Discharge Group. We're part of the Harbor Group. We're part of a number of different environmental groups. Our testing is all through DEP, although we have a collaborative partnership with Rutgers as well. And what we do is we check. We have a lab on site, by the way, almost a brand new lab. We're getting ready to move into it. And just the next, speaking of reinvestment that folks wouldn't say, it's a brand new lab to making sure our testing is even more up to date. We measure all sorts, and I completely admit to not being the scientist that some of the folks I have the privilege of working with are, but we measure obviously a number of different measurements and opportunity and items that make sure that we are environmentally friendly. I mentioned to you that we're moving towards towards electricity. We'd love to ultimately have an opportunity for wind power. We'll see where that goes because it's clean energy as well.
Right.
Want to work collaboratively with folks and see if that's a real opportunity for us. We continue to look for ways, for example, as to how we manage the sludge product that comes into us. I will tell you, there's two new projects that are going to be important to us. One's called a digester, which literally takes 1 pound of stuff and makes it a half a pound. That makes us more efficient. It also, because in that process, to be candid, and I hope this isn't TMI for your podcast listeners, but our product at the end requires lime. Lime is what creates a lot of the way that folks might notice us in that mixing process. This new process, when we have it, and we're hopeful to have it by 2027, eliminates lime. So we actually think it'll actually help folks notice us even less, which is what we want. It eliminates what's called mixing in the product. We continue to reinvest and to work, whether it's in any way we possibly can, for technologies that allow us to be a good neighbor, but a silent and unnoticed neighbor.
You're doing a great job. One of the things I did want to thank you for is you had a member of the MCUA commissioners who was a Sayreville guy, and you always had a Sayreville rep on the board, and he passed away recently.
John, yeah.
That being said, I'll take this moment publicly to thank you for proactively reaching out to me for a Sayreville person to replace him, and we'll have the right person for you. I haven't spoken about it publicly before because we wanted to give it some time. But Sayreville, again, will have the proper representation on your board as one of the commissioners. And I thank you for the professional way in which you've handled this and have had your group reach out to me in my office. It's just another demonstration of your commitment to Sayreville, and I just want to say thank you.
Well, it's kind of you to say. I will tell you this: the new person's got big shoes to fill. As we both know, we lost a giant, and without getting too far into it, but I look forward to the opportunity to work with folks that are advocates.
Yep.
You need to hear from your neighbors. You need to have a vision, and hopefully we bring that at the MCUA.
Well, I think you bring the vision, and I think you're implementing it, and I think it's very successful and beneficial to our town. Now, that being said, are there things that you want to share here in the podcast about the future of the MCUA in town?
I mentioned some of the larger projects we have. If I can give a little bit of a commercial,
Go ahead.
We do annual tours.
Okay.
And we would love for more residents of Sayreville to join us on May 11th, coming up, the Saturday before Mother's Day. So if you want to give Mom something really special,
Yeah, I don't.
okay, you can give her a tour of the landfill.
I know you love what you do. So.
Okay, all right, it's rather unique, but we end up with north of 100 folks that join us on a Saturday morning, and they get to see what the landfill's really like. We do the same thing here in Sayreville at the Central Treatment Plant on the first Saturday of October. So at mcua.com, if folks want to come sign up, we'd love to see them. We'd love to show them what we do. I think when folks see what we do, they become ambassadors for us.
Well, one of the things I'd ask you, several of the things I'd ask you. One, I'd like that opportunity extended to the Sayreville Environmental Group. I'll have my chief of staffs reach out to your office to set that up, because one of their functions is to be involved in these things. And the second thing is, I'll have my staff reach out to the Board of Ed to see if they have anyone in the science classes. It's part of who we are, what we are as human beings. It's something that has to. If you deal with farming, then you got to deal with the after effects of the farming, and there may be interest.
We would
from the high school.
We would love that. We participate in a scholarship in the high school. It's an MCUA scholarship, generally to environmental sciences. We want to do more. We've got some Earth Day things that we're out and about with, and we would love to partner in any way we can.
Great. Well, we'll do our part from our end, and I appreciate it, Joe. Is there anything you wanted to go over in the closing moments?
No, Mayor, thank you, and we appreciate the partnership.
Well, again, partner, thanks for being in Sayreville, and thanks for being as proactive as you are in providing the leadership that you do. It certainly has made a difference. It's not that things were terrible, but each new leader brings a vision, and you have a heck of a vision, and you're implementing it successfully.
It's a privilege to work with the professionals I do, and it's a privilege to be part of Sayreville. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining this episode of Conversations with Kennedy, and our guest, the director of the Middlesex County Utility Authority here in Sayreville, Joe Cryan, who has been an exemplary leader and a very proactive leader and a pro-Sayreville leader. So with that, until the next podcast, I wish you all well. Thanks for joining us.